Kid, why does everyone else in my class have one dad, but I have different ones all the time? r/AskReddit by online comps. Teachers of Reddit, what is the most depressing thing your kids have said? Student, Mary won't be here today. Her mom died last night. Me, wait, didn't her dad pass away a few weeks ago? Student, yes. Both parents died suddenly within a few weeks of each other from different medical conditions. Having lost both of my parents, I don't think there are words to describe how much it ducked me up. My mom died right before I started my senior year of high school. Dad died about a month after I graduated. Already had mental health problems which have only gotten worse and worse as time has passed. 4 years later I'm still trying to learn how to cope with the fact that I'm basically all alone in the world. They were basically my only family, so if I disappeared or killed myself I don't think anyone would even notice. Edit. I just wanna say thank you to everyone for the positivity. I'm fine most days, but I've been in a bit of a dark spot the last couple days, and seeing all the positivity and kindness really helped. You're all amazing. 5-year-old preschool girl with 103-degree fever, sicker than sick. She begs the nurse, please don't send me home. She was allowed to sleep in the nurse's office until the end of the day. That was about 2.5 years ago. A few months later she was removed by CPS and has been with a foster family, me, for nearly 2 years now. Not a teacher, but a counselor for kids in the foster program. Kid, why does everyone else in my class have one dad, but I have different ones all the time? Foster program can be really tough on kids, because you're a good kid and everyone wants to be your dad. One of my students, who was always in a good mood, came into the class looking very down. She was not acting her usual self. I had to get onto her several times for being on her phone. Again, very unlike her. She asked if she could speak to me in the hallway. Kid, I'm sorry for being in such a bad mood today. Can I tell you why? Me, of course. Kid proceeds to take her cardigan off. She had a tank top on underneath and showed me welts that she had gotten the night before from her mother beating her with an electric cord. She says, my mother beat me for no reason last night and I don't know what to do. Sadly, it was not the first time I had to report. I teach pretty much exclusively college freshmen, and by that point they all have that fatalistic sense of humor anyway. But it gets real sad when they get to the end of their rope. Nothing specific that I can remember, but a lot of why did I think I could make it in college? I'm too stupid for this. I should drop out. And they actually mean it. Stuff like that. Monday, however, a student asked to talk to me before class and said, I know this paper is important and all, and I don't want you to hate me, but I couldn't get my paper done, and I'm used to this sort of thing. I mean, it's just natural. But then he take a deep breath and blurts out, my dad called me last night and told me he was leaving my mom and moving away. So he's leaving me too, and I just couldn't deal with it. I'm really sorry if you're mad at me. It just hits me hard when they have to deal with more than they should. And on top of that they think I've formed a personal opinion of them and that I'm going to think badly of them based on something like this. I ran holiday science workshops filled with brainy kids, as you'd expect. There was an 11-year-old girl who was brilliant at everything. The content was clearly beneath her. Very quiet, respectful, well liked by the other kids. Her parents were moving soon because she received scholarships to a prestigious school. Whenever her dad came to pick her up he was obviously proud, telling me about all her achievements, how she was in advanced classes, just won all these sports awards too, etc. Showed videos and photos of her winning all these soccer games. They enrolled her younger brother in similar sessions. He gave it a go in the first few but really struggled, always the last to finish, and felt his work didn't look as good as the others. Looked embarrassed to ask for help. He screamed at his sister when she tried to fix his circuit. Eventually he just began acting out, putting off the work, challenging me to get a laugh out of the other kids, messing around. After a disastrous month he stopped trying altogether. He just came in one afternoon and sat there, not doing anything. I tried to engage him in the activity and said if he didn't like what the other kids are doing, we could pick anything else he wanted to do. He said something like, what's the point? My parents will never love me as much as they love my sister. My mother was a teacher for nearly 30 years. She spent the last 10 years at a middle school that was pretty hard up in the Tulsa public school system. She had a very good student who came to school every day in the same clothing. We can call him Jay. The clothing was always washed, but even so around halfway through the year, his clothing was becoming tattered and stained. The other students began to notice and make comments. The school tried to give him clothing but he refused. He would not accept a handout. A few teachers came up with a plan for the school, put on a contest where the winner was given some new, very nice school clothing. This contest was set up for Jay to win. This way he could have new clothing and not feel as though he was given anything. Jay won the contest. He accepted the new clothing gladly. The next day he was still wearing his old clothes. My mom asked him why he was not wearing the new clothing. "Those are my trophies. I have them hanging on my wall." Rips my heart right out of my chest. Had an exercise to make a point out of the burden we carry around on. For the exercise I needed a volunteer, a backpack and bricks to fill it with. I asked for a volunteer, and every time I put a brick into the backpack, I mentioned something sad, etc. that could be a burden. I mentioned fighting and heavy arguments at home, parents divorcing, loved ones dying and bullying. Then I told him to put the heavy backpack on. But before he did so, he looked at me really confused and said, "How do you know all this?" Oh, it point JPG. Principal to class on day 1. Kindergarten is not like preschool. Attendance matters. It's very important that you be here every day. Kindergartner, what if you have to get a blood transfusion? I've had a lot, but one morning 2 students came in early to my room and asked if they could use my student computer. I said sure, and figured that they just needed to finish a project and knew I always got to school early. Nope. Turns out their best friend was murdered 2 days before because he wouldn't give his money he earned to someone trying to rob him. His family needed the money to not be homeless, so he died trying to look out for his family and for like $80 or something. To make matters worse, the kid was murdered on a Saturday. He was left to bleed out and die, to be found the next morning. The ducking murderer came to my school on Monday, as if nothing had happened. Cops pulled him out of the class in the middle of the day once they had figured out it was him. Dang, it really puts it all in perspective. What grade was this? They were all juniors. Can you be my mom? 15 years old, totally serious. This is my real family. Different student referring to the teachers and friends at school. I don't deserve this. Teen when given a sweater on a very cold day. I hear a lot of this stuff. I wish there was so much more I could do. Friend of mine adopted a student when he turned 18 because his parents abandoned him for being gay. They make a happy dorky little family. They always got along well. She had a soft spot for him and he has somewhere to go on school breaks. When I was in training I worked in an inner city school. We were discussing what they wanted to be when they grow up, and one 8-year-old said, "It doesn't matter, I'm going to be in a gang and dead before I'm 21. I had a student that frequently lingered in my classroom after school. She often looked ill and was always very weird. One day she opened up to me and said that her mother and her live-in boyfriend shot up heroin every night. A few days later the same girl told me that her mom and boyfriend would shoot her up with heroin. A few days later the same girl told me that her mom and boyfriend would shoot her up with heroin and tell her that she couldn't tell anyone they were still doing it because she would get in trouble for doing it too. She asked me to keep it a secret, which I obviously couldn't because she was worried she'd get arrested for drug use. She no longer lives at home, thankfully. I won't be in school tomorrow. I have court. I get to wear a pretty dress. Why are you going to court? Well, the judge has to decide whether or not I go back home to mommy and daddy or stay with grandma. Who would you rather be with? Probably grandma. Mommy and daddy never had any food in the house. She's 6. My 9-year niece, when asked if she was sick of her annoying little sister, replied with, "I'm just sick of life in general, broke my damn heart." Please like and subscribe, I'm getting desperate. Comment on this video and hit the bell icon to wake this doggo up. Thanks for watching, and don't give up.